A Mortal's Journey to Immortality Episode 325. In the previous episode, Han Li awakened from a powerful illusion brought on by the Nature Origin Pill, an illusion so vivid that he felt himself command oceans, flames, forests, and even giant spirits. Though the incantations slipped from his memory, the profound feeling of controlling the world's spiritual essence remained, hinting at a breakthrough soon to come. After emerging from seclusion, he learned that Violet Spirit had already completed her own meditation, gaining a noticeable boost in cultivation. But just as the two exchanged words, the ground shuddered violently. A deafening roar spread across Devilfall Valley, followed by a towering tide of white spiritual force sweeping across the mountains. Racing straight toward them, Han Li reacted instantly, raising shields of blue light and summoning a towering ice barrier as Violet Spirit rushed to his side. The sky darkened, the earth cracked, and massive stones hammered against Han Li's defenses. At the end of the previous episode, the overwhelming surge of white spiritual force crashed down upon them, threatening to engulf everything in its path. What will happen next? Stay tuned. And the story continues. When Violet Spirit saw this huge mountain of ice break, she paled and unconsciously turned to look at Han Li. At the moment, Han Li appeared unperturbed and without a trace of panic. When Violet Spirit saw this, her heart steadied, knowing that he most likely had further methods to protect himself. Surprisingly, Han Li did not employ any further magic treasures or techniques. The Blue Ice Mountain, though trembling under the weight of boulders and the onslaught of spiritual energy, held firm and showed no signs of shattering. Violet Spirit's surprise turned to curiosity and delight as she realized that this was no ordinary mountain of ice. It was far more resilient than she had anticipated, seemingly forged from some extraordinary force. The wave of energy passed by them like a storm, rumbling and crashing in the distance until it vanished entirely. Violet Spirit, regaining her composure, summoned her embroidered scarf back into her hand from its mist form. Looking at Han Li, she asked with a puzzled expression, "What is that? How could Devilfall Valley possess such a thing?" Han Li's eyes flickered as he spoke softly to himself. "I am not certain. The spiritual energy from that distance is extremely chaotic. Could such a tremendous surge have originated from a spatial tear rather than a person? Whatever it was so fearsome that even the valley's restrictions could not contain it. Nascent Soul cultivators might endure it, but if it reached the outer valley, core formation cultivators would almost certainly be destroyed." Violet Spirit, sensing the abnormality, extended her own spiritual sense in the direction of the dissipating energy. But the vast distance limited her perception. She then turned to Han Li and asked, "Brother Han, are you planning to investigate the source of this?" Han Li paused briefly, a trace of hesitation in his expression, but then spoke firmly, "Why would I seek trouble? Whether this wave was artificially created or an accidental explosion, curiosity is not worth the risk. We should return to the outer valley. We have already completed our objective, and with this strange occurrence, the Ghost Spirit sect will likely be too distracted to notice us. It is an opportune moment to leave." He then gestured at the large shield he had used for protection, causing it to shrink and return into his sleeve. Han Li pressed his hand against the ice mountain. Blue light erupted from his palm, and in an instant, the ice melted. From it, a ball of blue flame floated into his hand. Violet Spirit's eyes widened in alarm. Han Li observed the flame, a trace of satisfaction on his face. This was a technique he had comprehended in the world of illusion. And though it was the first time he had used it, it flowed naturally and skillfully as if he had practiced it countless times. This revelation reinforced to Han Li that the experiences in the world of illusion were not mere fantasies but true insights into the laws of heaven and earth. This strengthened his hopes of reaching the mid-nascent soul stage. As Han Li turned to speak to Violet Spirit, light suddenly shone from the horizon behind them, revealing two streaks of energy rapidly approaching. "Yi!" he exclaimed in surprise. Violet Spirit extended her spiritual sense and discovered that the two streaks belonged to nascent soul cultivators. She asked Han Li if he knew them, and he confirmed that he did, frowning with a hint of confusion. The first was a yellow-robed old man, Ancestor Linghu of Yellow Maple Valley, and the second a white-clothed woman, the Grand Elder of the Masked Moon sect, Nangong Wan's senior martial sister. Both were fleeing in terror. Though nothing appeared to be chasing them, Han Li found this strange because both were formidable cultivators. Yet they ran as though their lives depended on it. He wondered if Molan Divine Sage Zhang might be pursuing them, and a chill ran down his spine. Han Li's history with the Molan spell warriors was fraught with conflict, and he knew that encountering Divine Sage Zhang would put him directly in the crosshairs. Without hesitation, Han Li activated a layer of light above him and Violet Spirit. In an instant, they disappeared from sight, leaving the two streaks of light to pass by the mountain Han Li had concealed himself behind. Han Li observed Ancestor Linghu's deathly pale expression and focused his attention 300 meters behind the fleeing cultivators. A chilling voice echoed, taunting them, ensuring that every cultivator within 5 kilometers could hear it. The voice spoke with audacity, mocking the fleeing Nascent Soul cultivators and declaring that they would be captured. Soon, a line of black light flickered into view, closing the distance between the mysterious figure and the two fleeing cultivators. Within the black radiance, a vague silhouette appeared. Han Li concentrated, and after careful observation, recognized the figure as Marquis Nanlong, but something was different. The overwhelming devilish energy radiating from him was unmistakable. This was not the original Marquis Nanlong, he was possessed by a devil. Marquis Nanlong advanced, wrapped in pitch-black devilish energy. When the two cultivators, Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed Grand Elder, noticed his approach, they acted swiftly. One brandished a black mirror while the other wielded a jade scepter, forming protective barriers. But Marquis Nanlong's terrifying power surpassed them. With a sinister smile, he casually unleashed his energy, sending the Grand Elder flying over 20 meters while her mirror barrier cracked. Ancestor Linghu's complexion grew even paler, but he shouted a warning, accusing the devil-possessed Marquis Nanlong of attempting to devour their primal souls. He reminded the devil that numerous Nascent Soul cultivators had entered the valley, implying that he could not escape the consequences of his actions. Marquis Nanlong laughed, reveling in the prospect of devouring so many Nascent Soul cultivators to restore his soul power. With a tremendous burst, the black devilish energy erupted and scattered. A figure clad entirely in black chi blurred as he charged toward Ancestor Linghu, leaving ominous afterimages in his wake. Then with a huge bang, black chi instantly ruptured and scattered. Then a silhouette clad in black chi blurred as it shot towards Ancestor Linghu, leaving afterimages in his wake. Ancestor Linghu's expression changed, and without further thought, he pointed to the jade scepter. Suddenly, the barrier around him thickened, and he spat out a small block stamp. It shot forward like a ball of green light. Bang! The devil-possessed Marquis Nanlong sneered and punched the jade block without hesitation. Black and green energy collided, weaving together in a chaotic dance as the black spiritual energy shrank and expanded. Blowing the light away, the jade block was sent flying back toward Ancestor Linghu, crashing fiercely toward him. Alarmed, Ancestor Linghu hastily formed an incantation gesture, reinforcing his protective barrier with successive spell seals to stop the incoming projectile. Yet, in that brief moment of distraction, a pitch-black fist suddenly appeared in front of his barrier and struck it with immense force. The barrier trembled violently, and Ancestor Linghu was sent flying. His 1,000 years of experience, however, were not wasted. With swift reflexes, he shook his sleeve and released a fire-red flying dagger in the direction of Marquis Nanlong's new position. Marquis Nanlong's sinister grin spread across his face, black chi swirling around him. As the flying dagger streaked toward his head, he did not bother to dodge. Instead, he exhaled a streak of black-red demon flame from his mouth. The dagger attempted to cut through the flames, but it was instantly engulfed. With several sharp flashes, the dagger was devoured, falling to the ground as a lifeless lump of iron. Ancestor Linghu's shock was profound. That dagger was no ordinary weapon. It was the famed evil-slaying blade of the heavenly South Continent. A treasure particularly effective against evil souls and spirits. For it to be destroyed so casually by Marquis Nanlong was an alarming revelation. The old cultivator's heart sank, realizing the ferocity of the devil-possessed being before him. Marquis Nanlong pursued Ancestor Linghu relentlessly, his body moving with unnatural fluidity. He extended and contracted like a predatory snake, striking Ancestor Linghu's barrier with repeated force. Each blow sent Ancestor Linghu flying, and the pressure of the strikes scattered most of the spiritual energy he could condense, preventing him from activating further abilities or treasures. The Jade Scepter in his hands, a top-grade defensive artifact, trembled under the assault but remained intact. Marquis Nanlong, clearly surprised by its resilience, continued pounding down with ruthless persistence. Fear consumed Ancestor Linghu, who realized he was trapped like Lu Weiying had once been, defenseless under the ceaseless assault. After more than a dozen relentless strikes, the barrier began to warp. Ancestor Linghu's heart sank, and a deathly pallor washed over his face. Marquis Nanlong's grin widened. One hand continued pounding the barrier while the other coiled as if forming a blade, preparing for a lethal strike. Ancestor Linghu clenched his teeth, gripping an item close to his heart, ready to risk everything to survive. Suddenly, a thick beam of rainbow light appeared, enveloping Marquis Nanlong. At first, he ignored it, but when the light touched him, his movements slowed, his body growing heavy. Yi! He yelped in surprise. Glancing toward the source, the white-clothed woman held an ancient mirror high above her head. The origin of the rainbow beam. Marquis Nanlong's expression turned grim, a mixture of anger and disbelief. Ancestor Linghu seized the opportunity to escape the pit of despair. Gathering his spiritual power, he streaked across the sky and reappeared beside the white-clothed woman. He did not have the luxury to express gratitude yet. Instead, he immediately released over 10 flaming talismans, directing them toward Marquis Nanlong trapped within the rainbow light. The talismans erupted in succession, rumbles echoing as scarlet flames engulfed Marquis Nanlong. He countered by exhaling black chi, attempting to protect himself, but Ancestor Linghu did not hesitate. He formed an incantation gesture and summoned a majestic white trident, shrinking it before launching it at Marquis Nanlong. Simultaneously, the white-clothed woman kept the mirror raised to restrain him while summoning 2 flying swords that streaked through the air as black and white rays. The battle raged on, wordless but intense, when rainbow light flashed below them nearby. Han Li, observing the scene, frowned and asked the Monarch of Soul Divergence, "Is that thing possessing Marquis Nanlong one of the Elder Devils you mentioned?" With a trace of schadenfreude, the Monarch replied, "Apart from an Elder Devil, what could be so vicious? But judging by the way it forced 2 nascent soul cultivators to flee, this one must be highly ranked in the Elder Devil realm. If you faced it alone, your chances of victory would be slim, even if it is not using its original body." Han Li bitterly chuckled, muttering, "Interesting. You did not advise me to flee immediately. Though I have no interest in fighting it alone. The world is truly chaotic for Marquis Nanlong to be subdued in this way." The Monarch snorted. "Even 4 of you together might not defeat an Elder Devil possessing a body. But with your treasures and techniques, your chances improve. You even have Divine Devilbane Lightning. While you might not best it, escaping should not be a problem." Han Li smiled faintly, about to respond when Violet Spirit's voice reached him, trembling with fear. "Brother Han, what will we do? Do you plan to attack?" She had been silent with trepidation since witnessing the corrupted form of Marquis Nanlong. Han Li was about to reply when he suddenly raised his arm with alarm. A mist of azure spiritual energy shot out, pulling Violet Spirit into his embrace. In an instant, they shot upward in an azure streak. When the light faded, Han Li held Violet Spirit gently, his gaze solemn as they looked down. Violet Spirit quickly adjusted her clothes, a faint blush coloring her cheeks, and also peered down. Below, a pitch-black silhouette stood staring coldly at them. Marquis Nanlong had suddenly appeared, attempting a sneak attack, but Han Li's bright sight spirit eyes had allowed him to detect it in time. Violet Spirit's blood ran cold as she hastily glanced away. At that moment, a ball of black chi within the rainbow beam vanished amid the raging flames, revealing another Marquis Nanlong incarnation. Ancestor Linghu, initially relieved to see Han Li, felt his heart sink at the sight of yet another Marquis Nanlong. He called out to the white-clothed woman to delay their attacks in confusion. The Marquis Nanlong within the beam of light glanced expressionlessly at the two before disappearing into black chi. Revealing itself as a temporary incarnation, Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman exchanged glances of deep fear. It was not difficult to create an incarnation, but for it to escape notice of two nascent soul cultivators was terrifying. They had believed it to be the real Marquis Nanlong all along. Had it not intended to ambush Han Li, one of the two cultivators could have fallen prey. Ancestor Linghu called out, relieved yet anxious. Fellow Taoist Han, I didn't expect you here. This is fantastic. This devilish monster is extremely formidable. If we unite against it, we might save ourselves. Han Li bitterly smiled. He had believed his concealment sufficient to avoid detection by even late nascent soul cultivators. He had watched the battle with a relaxed mind, thinking he would escape shortly. He did not expect that the Elder Devil would discover him and plan an ambush. It seemed a battle would be unavoidable. Han Li nodded to Ancestor Linghu and turned to Violet Spirit and said, "Your cultivation is too low for you to be of any help. Rather, you should escape with your life while you can. Don't worry, since we are all fighting this beast, he shouldn't have the chance to attack you." Out of concern for her safety and the friendship they shared, Han Li immediately instructed Violet Spirit to leave, knowing he could not afford to protect her in the coming battle. Violet Spirit hesitated for a moment, her eyes flickering with worry, but she eventually nodded obediently. "Very well, then I shall be taking my leave. Brother Han, take care of yourself," she spoke softly. Her gaze lingered on the devil-possessed Marquis Nanlong below and then cast a deep, searching look at Ancestor Linghu before she flew off into the distance. Marquis Nanlong, seemingly uninterested in her departure, merely glanced her way before refocusing his attention entirely on Han Li. It was unclear whether he dismissed her as unworthy of notice or simply found dealing with three nascent soul cultivators at once too troublesome. Han Li's expression hardened as he faced the towering threat. He raised his hand, summoning dense arcs of golden lightning that coiled around his arm. Thunder clapped repeatedly as the brilliant light illuminated the area, a powerful aura radiating from his form. Given the fearsome nature of this elder devil, Han Li had no intention of probing its abilities. He resolved to strike immediately with the divine Devilbane lightning, a legendary technique known for suppressing all things wicked and evil. Though Han Li had yet to fully test it against a devil's technique, he was confident in its ability to suppress even an elder devil's power. Marquis Nanlong's narrowed eyes followed the golden lightning, and he spoke in a cold, deliberate tone. "I recognize you from the remnant memories of this body's previous owner. I do not know all the details, but the previous owner had a particularly fearsome impression of you. Now I see that impression was correct. Not only have you evaded my ambush, but you can also control the divine Devilbane lightning that caused us such trouble in the past. It seems I must expend considerable effort to deal with you." A faint, cold smile crossed Han Li's lips as the arcs of golden lightning surged with greater power. With a flick of his sleeve, a small blue shield appeared in front of him, revolving and expanding into a barrier of pure blue light. Seeing Han Li act first and take the initiative to defend himself, Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman exchanged glances of relief. Han Li's reputation was well earned, and he was an existence comparable to late nascent soul cultivators. They each sent voice transmissions and advanced slowly, preparing to assist him when an opening appeared. Marquis Nanlong's frown deepened, his expression turning fearsome. He stomped the ground, and his body trembled, leaving only an afterimage behind. Han Li's heart briefly skipped a beat, his mind alert as he swept his spiritual sense around him. But the Elder Devil remained undetectable. Its concealment alone was enough to fool ordinary cultivators. Blue light flickered in Han Li's eyes as he activated his bright sight spirit eyes. Raising his arm, he unleashed a bolt of golden lightning toward an empty area, where it transformed into a net of rumbling lightning just before striking. The black light flickered, revealing Marquis Nanlong, who initially showed alarm at the approaching net. Yet, with a blur of motion, he vanished, leaving only an afterimage. Han Li's lips pressed together, recognizing the deceptive swiftness of his opponent. Without hesitation, Han Li raised his other arm, targeting another empty space 20 meters away. Dense bolts of golden lightning shot forth, streaking across the air. In a blur, Marquis Nanlong's figure reformed directly in the path of the attack, leaving him no time to react. He could only exhale a black-red ball of devil flame to counter the lightning. The collision of fire and lightning erupted in a clash of opposing energies, dissipating into smoke and ash. Han Li felt a jolt of shock. The Elder Devil had a method to counter divine Devilbane lightning, the fearsome black-red devil flame. Yet he noticed something critical. Marquis Nanlong's complexion had paled for a moment when the flame combusted. Though he recovered almost instantly, it was clear the devil flame was connected to his vitality or soul essence. Han Li understood that this could be exploited if handled carefully. Suddenly, Marquis Nanlong lowered his body, elongating unnaturally as if he were boneless, and shot forward to strike. Sinisterly smiling, he prepared to pummel Han Li with fists cloaked in devil chi. Han Li remained calm, taking only half a step back. Silver-white wings erupted from his back as lightning crackled, and with a ring of thunder, he vanished in a silver flash. Marquis Nanlong paused briefly, then coldly smiled. Lightning movement. I see you know quite a bit, but it is a pity. He sneered, transforming into black mist before disappearing. The two movements, Han Li's and Marquis Nanlong's, occurred in mere instants, leaving both combatants unseen. Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman watched closely, eager to intervene with their magical treasures. However, no suitable opportunity presented itself. And with Han Li and Marquis Nanlong now out of sight, they shared a look of frustration. They quickly activated protective treasures around themselves, increasing their vigilance against any sudden encounters. Suddenly, thunder roared, and Han Li reappeared over 60 meters from his original location. Behind him, black chi manifested, and Marquis Nanlong emerged with a savage grin, raining down a flurry of powerful punches. Han Li sensed the attack with his spiritual sense, but the strike was too swift for him to teleport away in time. He poured his spiritual power into the blue light shield surrounding him, bracing for impact. Bang! Bang! The barrier trembled violently as Marquis Nanlong's strikes scattered a majority of Han Li's condensed magical power, preventing him from using lightning movement again. Han Li's mind raced as he realized the battle had intensified, and the Elder Devil's speed was terrifying. Marquis Nanlong's laughter echoed wildly as he transformed into a fierce gale, pursuing Han Li with relentless intent. Despite his numb and partially powerless body, Han Li's face remained calm. Having witnessed Ancestor Linghu's fate, he had prepared multiple contingencies. As his arms regained sensation, he released a spirit beast pouch toward Marquis Nanlong. Thousands of gold devouring beetles swarmed out, forming a dense cloud and surrounding the Elder Devil. The ancient exotic aura of the insects struck fear into Marquis Nanlong's heart, forcing him to summon a glowing green ghost claw covered in gray-white flames to sweep them away. Many of the beetles were consumed by the flames, but the swarm's pressure slowed him momentarily. Taking advantage of this, the white-clothed woman launched a rainbow light beam from her mirror, aiming to restrain Marquis Nanlong. Ancestor Linghu simultaneously shot a milky white ring, a treasure designed to restrict movement, toward him. Marquis Nanlong easily dodged the rainbow light and avoided contact with the ring, knowing they had no effect unless they touched him directly. Turning his gaze toward Han Li, Marquis Nanlong sought to eliminate the primary threat, the wielder of divine Devilbane lightning. Han Li did not remain idle. Inside his light barrier, he activated another spirit beast pouch, summoning over 10 puppets to block the Elder Devil's advance. Each of the puppets was 6 meters long and had human bodies with tiger heads. With a tremble of their hands, 10 several-inch-long streaks of light glowed along their claws. Marquis Nanlong was initially surprised to arrive in front of the tiger demon puppets, but he continued his charge regardless. The dozen puppets flickered with white light and moved as one, their forms blurring violently as they surrounded him, claws of pure light swiping in unison. Marquis Nanlong's expression darkened as he met the first 2 claws with his fists. 2 muffled bangs rang out as the claws struck his black chi-clad fists, shattering under his immense strength. Yet the puppets, unafraid of destruction and without any magic power to be scattered, immediately restored their claws in a flash of cold light and continued their relentless assault. A wicked chuckle escaped Marquis Nanlong as his arms blurred and vanished, followed by his entire body. The claws of light struck nothing but air, and two muffled explosions followed as he reappeared outside the encirclement, his arms piercing through the chests of two tiger demon puppets. Without hearts to sustain them, the puppets collapsed instantly. Despite Han Li's careful refinement of the puppets, Marquis Nanlong's brute strength easily shattered them. These strikes, however, were mere diversions. His real target was Han Li, who was still recovering from a previous assault. Marquis Nanlong surged past the remaining puppets and appeared in front of Han Li. Fist cocked to strike, Han Li, still wrapped in his protective light barrier and unable to summon his magic power fully, met the attack with an emotionless gaze, showing not a trace of panic. Marquis Nanlong's brow furrowed in confusion. Before he could understand Han Li's composure, countless sharp explosions rang out behind him. Alarmed, he withdrew his fist and blurred backward, leaving only a trail of afterimages. In that instant, a swarm of green claws tore through the afterimages, and a green-furred monster with a hollow face emerged, the sovereign devil corpse, having stealthily concealed itself beneath Han Li's puppets. Marquis Nanlong stared in disbelief at the refined corpse and the remaining tiger demon puppets surrounding Han Li. "A refined corpse?" he shouted, shock evident in his voice. The tiger demon puppets quickly closed in around Han Li as he raised his hands. One hand crackled with dense bolts of flickering golden lightning, while the other held a small ball of purple flame. Han Li's expression remained emotionless as he glanced at Marquis Nanlong, fully restored and prepared to strike. Marquis Nanlong's lips curled into a snort. With Han Li's magic power replenished, attempts to suppress him were futile. What shocked him most, however, was the sheer abundance of divine Devilbane lightning that Han Li could summon. Elder devils like him knew how devastating this lightning could be. Yet Han Li seemed able to produce it almost endlessly. The purple flame in Han Li's other hand caused him particular unease. Though its properties were unknown, instinct told him it was dangerous. The mechanical puppets and the refined corpse posed no real threat individually, but together, the array of human strategies and magical tools made him wary. Marquis Nanlong recalled the two Nascent Soul cultivators he had fought before and understood the potential dangers of underestimating his foes. Meanwhile, Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman, sensing the temporary pause in combat, dared not command their ancient treasures to attack. They instructed their artifacts to remain still, with Ancestor Linghu's ring shrinking and humming quietly as it hovered nearby. A series of explosions erupted, catching Marquis Nanlong off guard. A ball of gray-white flame ruptured in the air, releasing a cloud of golden beetles unharmed. The glowing green ghost claw vanished alongside the flames. The golden beetle swarm immediately surged toward Han Li, escaping its temporary confinement. Marquis Nanlong's expression darkened as he realized the extent of Han Li's abilities. "I didn't expect your powers to be so vast. Fishing your nascent soul with ordinary means is inconvenient. Since this is the case, I'll have to kill you personally. This body has reached the end of its usefulness, so it matters little if it is ruined." Taking a deep breath, Marquis Nanlong emitted black devilish chi. The sound of cracking bones echoed from his body as he grew a meter taller, neck and shoulders warping with ominous protrusions, signaling the emergence of new power. Han Li immediately reacted. From one hand, arcs of golden lightning fused into a sinuous golden python, surging forward. From the other, a ball of purple flame shot forth. Simultaneously, he commanded the Gold Devouring Beetles to attack while keeping the Sovereign Devil Corpse and Tiger Demon Puppets in place to guard against sneak strikes. To the side, Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman activated their treasures. A rainbow light beam shot forth from the mirror, arriving even a step before Han Li's attacks. The milky white ring expanded to 3 meters, attempting to cover Marquis Nanlong. Having experienced the Elder Devil's strange techniques, they could not afford failure. Marquis Nanlong, however, remained unfazed. The rainbow light vanished against the black chi coating his body, absorbed harmlessly, as the golden lightning python, the purple flame, and the white ring approached. He flickered through the air inside a 10-meter wide ball of black chi. Evading the attacks with extraordinary speed, the Gold Devouring Beetles trailed slightly behind, still advancing toward him. The white-clothed woman, frustrated, repeatedly willed her mirror to release rainbow beams, but they all missed. Han Li's attacks, guided by his spiritual sense, also failed to connect. In the midst of this, the Monarch of Soul Divergence spoke in Han Li's mind. "Youngster, if you have no other methods, I urge you to escape. Elder Devils differ greatly from mortal cultivators. They are cruel, brutish, and experienced in combat. If they are earnest, you will not prevail. Since I have yet to refine my final nascent soul puppet, I do not wish to die alongside you." Han Li did not respond. Instead, a harsh expression appeared on his face. With a sudden wave of his sleeves, a clear ring sounded out, and dozens of small golden swords flew out, each taking the form of a foot-long streak of light. They spiraled through the air under his command, striking the swords with spell seals. He multiplied them into over 100 identical copies, each radiating blinding brilliance. Han Li formed an incantation gesture and commanded, "Go!" The sword lights trembled and vanished from sight, forming the Aureate Sword Formation in front of him. The Monarch of Soul Divergence exclaimed in alarm. "A sword formation? You still had techniques you had not used? Then pretend I did not say anything. I am curious to see why you hold this formation in such high confidence." Han Li's calm voice resonated in the mental connection. "Senior will soon know what this sword formation is. It is uncertain whether it could strike down the Elder Devil's true body. But since he possesses a human cultivator's body, I can at least rid him of his container without killing him." The Monarch of Soul Divergence wryly chuckled and said, "Youngster, don't boast and overestimate yourself. Haven't you already experienced the brute force of the Elder Devil's possessed body and his vicious devil arts?" Han Li's heart stirred upon hearing the Monarch of Soul Divergence's warning, and he asked, "From your tone, it seems you've had personal experiences dealing with Elder Devils. I thought you never entered Devilfall Valley." The Monarch of Soul Divergence snorted several times, sounding annoyed. "Oh, could it be you did not hear me before? I had several good friends who entered the valley. Although they all possessed exceptional abilities, only one of them was able to escape alive, despite their combined powers. Surely this displays the power of the Elder Devils." Han Li smiled faintly, intending to ask another question, when a loud roar echoed from the distance, accompanied by the movement of the ball of black chi. In an instant, the swirling storm of wind scattered away, revealing Marquis Nanlong in a completely transformed state. Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman's expressions changed immediately, and they felt a chill run down their spines. What emerged was no longer simply human in appearance. Marquis Nanlong now had 2 heads and 4 arms. The front head retained human features but was partially covered with purple scales and bore a white horn several inches long protruding from the forehead. The smaller head at the back was entirely demonic, with a horned, scaled face, jet black lips, and a long, black-red tongue that extended and retracted like a snake. Its narrow, silver-glowing eyes radiated an inhuman menace, sending a shiver of unease into anyone who looked at them. The rest of his body was also covered in dense purple scales, and all 4 arms extended far below his knees, each fingertip tipped with long, sharp, bone-like nails that glinted with silver light when brought together. The sheer terror of his new form caused both Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman to feel their hearts tremble. Yet as seasoned nascent soul cultivators, they forced themselves to remain composed and immediately pointed at their treasures, commanding them to attack. A beam of rainbow light shot forward, attempting to envelop the Elder Devil, and Ancestor Linghu quickly ordered his massive white ring to also cover him. The front head of the Elder Devil remained expressionless, seemingly dead inside, but the rear head sneered. The ring descended, but the 4 devilish arms glowed with purple light, firmly grasping the white ring and halting its movement. Ancestor Linghu cast a spell in a hurry, and the ring shone brilliantly, attempting to escape, but the Elder Devil's arms held firm, unyielding as if made of metal. The rear head opened its mouth and spat a ball of pitch-black liquid at the ring. The moment the ring was drenched, its spiritual light scattered, flickering with demonic black energy. Ancestor Linghu cried out in alarm. My yang-fused ring? His mental connection to the treasure severed, and his complexion paled. The Elder Devil had a method to corrupt and destroy ancient treasures. At that moment, 3 of the Elder Devil's arms released the ring. With the remaining arm, he spun it rapidly, creating countless afterimages as the smaller head displayed satisfaction. Speaking through the front head, he said, "Not bad, not bad. I was worried that I did not have any treasures on hand. This will do for now." 2 arms retrieved a pair of black flags. The other spat a small black sword into the air, and the 4th arm formed a bare fist. He smiled sinisterly, thinking that although he possessed only a few devilified cultivator treasures, they would suffice for the moment. Han Li, distracted by the deployment of his Aureate Sword Formation, noticed that his golden lightning and purple fireball had slowed and lagged behind. The Gold Devouring Beetles, which had closely pursued the Elder Devil, now hesitated and spiraled in place, their behavior betraying fear for the first time. Han Li's mental connection with them had never sensed hesitation or fear before, leaving him shocked. The 2-headed, 4-armed transformation of the Elder Devil reminded Han Li of the sacred provenance plate in the 3-headed, 6-armed figurines on Master Kang Kun's offerings table. He could not yet understand the connection between these 3 images. The black flags were recognized as the wind-commanding flags that once belonged to Lu Wang, and the familiar small sword came from ancient cultivator remains, now corrupted and wielded by the Elder Devil. Despite this, Han Li knew there was no time to analyze. He needed to provoke the Elder Devil into the Aureate Sword Formation. He commanded the Gold Devouring Beetles forward and hastened the Golden Lightning and Purple Fireball. Both heads of the Elder Devil laughed simultaneously, and his neck warped, shifting the positions of the 2 heads. The smaller head extended its black-red tongue in a bizarre, unsettling display. The Elder Devil did not dodge Han Li's incoming attacks. Instead, he raised his 3 treasures, the small sword, black flags, and corrupted white ring, high into the air. Each shone with black light as the battle recommenced in earnest. Suddenly, a series of monstrous roars erupted in the distance. They sounded like the bellows of thunder, carrying such violent fury that even Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman's minds trembled. Han Li shared in their shock, as did the 2-headed Elder Devil. Without hesitation, the Elder Devil withdrew all his treasures and shot off in a streak of black, shrieking as he sped toward the source of the roars. The speed and urgency of his flight were incredible, leaving Han Li astonished. He immediately extended his finger, halting the Golden Lightning, Beetles, and Purple Flames. Han Li's expression became pensive as he studied the distance where the Elder Devil had vanished. He recalled that the roars and previous wave of chi originated from a location marked on the map of Devilfall Valley. Could something massive have occurred there? Had another Elder Devil appeared? The rapid flight and shriek of the 2-headed Elder Devil suggested the possibility. Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman visibly relaxed. Ever since the Elder Devil had transformed and the status light mirror failed to restrain him, they had been filled with dread. Ancestor Linghu, though still concerned about the loss of his treasure, felt relief at preserving his life. Had it not been for Han Li's timely intervention, both he and the white-clothed woman might have perished. The former companions who had entered the valley with him had already been consumed by the possessed Marquis Nanlong, leaving Han Li as the decisive factor in their survival. Now, with the Elder Devil gone, Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman approached Han Li. Recognizing his immense power and abilities, Ancestor Linghu saluted respectfully. "Fellow Taoist Han, I must thank you for saving me. Otherwise, I would have perished." He glanced at the tiger demon puppets and the sovereign devil corpse, secretly feeling envy at Han Li's collection of treasures and powers. He knew Han Li's future path of cultivation would be immeasurable, and that his earlier agreement to aid Yellow Maple Valley had proven correct. With Han Li acting, the valley would be safe for 1,000 years. The white-clothed woman forced a polite smile, acknowledging Han Li's assistance, though her tone remained indifferent. Any thoughts of revenge or resentment were fully eradicated upon witnessing Han Li's current capabilities. With a wave of his arm, Han Li recalled the golden lightning, purple fireball, and other items into his body and sleeve. Calmly, he said, "I did not save your lives out of kindness, I was only defending myself. Now, what do you plan to do? Would you be interested in taking a look over there?" Ancestor Linghu shook his head firmly. "Fellow Taoist Han must be joking. That thing is formidable, only a late nascent soul stage cultivator could contend with it. We will not be following." The white-clothed woman also shook her head silently. "Since that is the case, then so be it. Although I am curious, it is too dangerous for me to investigate alone. Let us part here," Han Li said, a trace of disappointment in his expression. He would have preferred their company in investigating the source of the disturbance. But he would not risk the danger if alone. With that thought, Han Li turned to stare in the direction of the howl. And a short while later, his expression suddenly grew heavy. When Ancestor Linghu saw this, he hastily asked with alarm, "Has something happened?" In this episode, we saw Han Li facing immense danger as the Elder Devil Marquis Nanlong revealed his terrifying power. Transforming into a two-headed, four-armed monstrous form, Han Li skillfully deployed his tiger demon puppets, the Sovereign Devil Corpse, and the Gold Devouring Beetles, while unleashing lightning, purple flames, and his Aureate Sword Formation, demonstrating his incredible mastery and strategic brilliance. We witnessed the Elder Devil's terrifying ability to corrupt treasures and the limits of even nascent soul cultivators' powers when confronting such a formidable opponent. Despite the overwhelming threat, Han Li managed to turn the tide, forcing the Elder Devil to retreat upon sensing a greater disturbance in Devilfall Valley. Ancestor Linghu and the white-clothed woman, saved from certain death, were left in awe of Han Li's unparalleled skills and the sheer range of his powers. What happens next? Stay tuned for the next episode of Immortal's Journey to Immortality. If you enjoyed this episode or found it exciting, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive the latest updates on Han Li's journey. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.